Léon Gambetta had one working eye. The other he had lost as a child when a labourer's tool broke as he was passing by, and metal fragments flew into his face. The damaged eye was later replaced by a glass sphere. Cosmetically, this artificial eye was a success, but monocular vision made it hard for Gambetta to judge distances. He had begun his career as a lawyer, but was now a famous politician, and when photographers, painters, and illustrators made portraits of him, they tended to show him in profile. One of those portraits was taken by Nadar, the pioneering photographer, cartoonist, and balloonist, and one of the 19th century's great self-promoters. Gaspard Félix Tournachon was his real name. He had a joking habit of adding the syllable dar to the ends of words, so his friends turned Tournachon into Tournadar, which was in turn shortened to Nadar. He had a square, heavy head and dark, darting eyes. He was myopic. His doughy face was punctuated by a small mole in the centre of his left cheek, and another, larger one above his right cheekbone. It became almost fantastically expressive when he was impassioned. That was often. Nadar did everything with maximum urgency, total conviction, and he had giant history-shaping plans for Gambetta. On the morning of October the 7th, 1870, he was going to realise them. But before he did, he had to pay a visit to the writer Victor Hugo, another lion of public life, whose photograph he had taken. Hugo had only recently returned to Paris from the island of Guernsey in the English Channel. An unforeseen change in government and a moment of national peril had prompted his sudden return after 2 decades in exile. His mere presence in the French capital lent its citizens a heightened sense of valour and purpose. Hugo and Nadar went back years together. When, 5 years earlier, Nadar wrote The Right to Flight, a polemic on behalf of ballooning, he had sent the manuscript to Hugo in Guernsey. Designing his magnanimous reply for wide consumption, Hugo praised Nadar's courage, comparing him not only to Christopher Columbus, but to Voltaire. Looking to the future, he predicted that human flight would achieve a magnificent transfiguration and even a colossal pacifist revolution. Now, however, just 5 years later, Paris was under martial law. The city was besieged, and Gambetta's balloon flight was the first desperate step in a critical mission, preserving France from humiliation. Nadar had spent the last few weeks camped in a bell tent at the Place Saint-Pierre on the Butte Montmartre. From here, over chimneys and rooftops, you could see the immensity of Paris spreading greyly to the south. Hugo, who was staying just down the hill at the home of his friend Paul Maurice on the curving, sloping Avenue Frochot, greeted the photographer that crisp October morning with his usual engulfing affability. Nadar reciprocated, asking the great writer if he had any mail he wanted sent out of the city, and making sure to mention that bundles of the writer's pamphlets were at that very moment being loaded into 2 balloons, being prepared for launch. If Hugo was curious, he added, he should come up and watch.